Boker Tov, good morning. We continue with a 3-minute daily dose of Torah. Yesterday I asked the question, why do we have the first chapter of Megillat Esther? It doesn't really seem to be necessary. The Jewish story begins with Ish Yehudi, and then the chapter that follows. So why tell us this? And we talked about maybe, we need to lay groundwork, background story for why there's a need to get a new queen, or possibly to understand one way or the other how we know what kind of man we're dealing with. But we might need to step back and reframe it and push me back a little bit and say, why are you saying that chapter 1 isn't a Jewish story? There might be much Jewish story going on here. And indeed, the Gemara presumes that somehow layering all over this is, and the story of the feast is not merely the feast of a king trying to consolidate the forces of his 127 kingdoms. But rather, in the rabbinic eye, this is a feast celebrating the vanquishing of the God of Israel, and it connects it to the story of Belshazzar and the writing on the wall, and figuring out when the 70 years that have been prophesied that Israel would be able to return to the land of Israel, the Jewish people who return to the land of Israel, and Belshazzar got it wrong. But Achashverosh thinks he's got it right, and 70 years, as he measures it, has passed, even though it's incorrect in his calculations. And so it is. And in fact, it's indeed the psukim later on in Ezra describe that when there was an effort to undo the permission to return to Israel, to undo that in Ezra, we're told that it was in the second year, towards the beginning of the reign of Achashverosh, if it's the same person, that people try to interfere and stop the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash with success. So the argument goes that Achashverosh is very caught up in the Jewish story. And this celebration is a celebration of the vanquishing of God and Israel's relationship. And so when we read the verses that at this feast, that they take out all manner of vessels, it says, Vechelim mikelim shonim. This is how we traditionally read it. Vechelim mikelim shonim. That is a trup, not from Megillas Esther. Da, 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 da. That's Megillas Esther trup. That is trup from Eicha, from Lamentations. And the suggestion is that the vessels of all manner of vessels that were brought out were actually the vessels of the Beis Hamikdash, which were brought out to be used at this feast. And it was a terrible moment. And the question is, where were the Jews? Were the Jews present at this moment? Were they participating in this feast? Are they guilty for it? That's part of the question as well. But we should understand that everything in this story has a backdrop which relates to us, and the assertion is that the Jewish people really are imperiled, partially because they might have participated in that feast, as I mentioned, or they have a man who is not oblivious to them, but indeed has as a participant in the theological attempt to suppress all that was Jewish and godly. In our experience, and ultimately, of course, there's a turnaround because God has stepped in to assist what otherwise would have been a further calamity facing us all. Have a great day.